The message came while we were eating dinner together. My daughter Olivia was 13 years old. She was looking at her phone when her eyes suddenly filled with tears. My son Ethan, who was only 10 years old, looked over her shoulder. "Mom," Olivia whispered. Her voice was shaking. "Look at what Brandon posted." I took the phone from her and looked at the screen. Right away, my stomach felt heavy. The post showed a picture of our old family car. The photo had been taken when we visited my sister Rebecca's house the week before. Under the picture, Brandon had written some very mean words. He wrote that my children were poor. He said we lived for free in his family's mansion. He called us charity cases. Many people had already seen the post. There were dozens of comments. Some people were laughing. Some were making jokes about our clothes. Others were making fun of our car. A few people were saying cruel things about our family. Olivia looked like she wanted to cry. Ethan looked confused. "Why would he say that?" Ethan asked softly. "We don't live there. We were only visiting." "I know, sweetheart," I said. I put down my fork and took a deep breath. Inside, I felt angry and hurt. But I stayed calm for my children. Olivia wiped away her tears. "Everyone at school is going to see this," she said. "Some of Brandon's friends go to my school." I gave both children a gentle smile. "Finish your dinner," I told them. "I need to make a phone call." I walked into my office and quietly closed the door. Then I opened my laptop and signed into my bank account. As I looked at the screen, I saw the same payments I had seen every month for the last 7 years. Every month, money left my account to pay for Rebecca's house. There was a payment for the mortgage. There was a payment for property taxes. There was a payment for insurance. There was money for the pool service. There was money for the gardening service. For 7 years, I had paid all of it. I looked at the numbers for a moment. Then I picked up my phone. I called the bank. A customer service worker answered. "Hello, this is Melissa Mitchell," I said. "I need to stop several automatic payments." The worker checked my account. "Which payments would you like to stop?" "Every payment connected to the house at 847 Grandview Terrace," I answered. The worker was quiet for a moment while checking the information. "That includes the mortgage payment, property tax payments, and homeowner's insurance." "Yes," I replied. "Please stop all of them." "The payments scheduled for tomorrow will still go through," the worker explained. "Everything after that can be canceled." "That's fine," I said. The worker sounded surprised. "May I ask why you are canceling these payments?" "If you're having financial problems, we may be able to help." "No financial problems," I said calmly. "The arrangement is simply over." After I finished speaking with the bank, I called the pool company. I canceled their service. Then I called the gardening company. I canceled that service too. When I was finished, I sat quietly in my chair. The room was silent. I knew it would not stay silent for long. 18 minutes later, my phone rang. Rebecca was calling. The moment I answered, she started yelling. "Melissa, what did you do?" Her voice sounded scared and angry at the same time. "The bank just called me. They said the mortgage payment was canceled." "They said you canceled it." "That's right," I said calmly. "What do you mean that's right?" she shouted. "You can't cancel my mortgage payment. This is my house." I stayed quiet for a second. Then I asked a simple question. "Is it really your house?" Rebecca stopped talking. "Rebecca," I continued, "tell me something. What bills do you actually pay for that house?" There was silence. Finally she answered. "That's none of your business. I don't know what game you're playing, but you need to fix this right now." "I'll explain everything," I said. "Come over to my house. Bring Brandon too. I think it's time we talked about who is really helping whom." Rebecca hung up. About 35 minutes later, her car came racing into my driveway. She got out quickly and stormed toward my front door. Brandon followed behind her. He looked annoyed. My children were upstairs doing homework. I was glad they were not part of this conversation. Rebecca walked into my dining room. "Explain yourself," she demanded. I was sitting at the table. A large folder was sitting in front of me. I pointed to 2 chairs. "Please sit down." "I don't want to sit down," she snapped. "I want answers." I opened the folder. The first paper I pulled out was very old. "This is the original mortgage paper from when you bought your house 7 years ago. Do you remember that?" Rebecca crossed her arms. "Of course I remember." I nodded. "I remember too. I remember when Michael left you. I remember when he emptied your bank accounts. I remember when he disappeared with his secretary. I remember you calling me in tears because the bank was about to take your house." Brandon looked shocked. He had never heard this story before. I pulled out another paper. "This is the agreement we made with the bank." Rebecca looked uncomfortable. "We worked things out," she said quietly. "Yes," I replied. "We did. You, me, and the bank. The bank agreed to let you keep the house because I promised to make the payments. You were struggling. You were heartbroken. You had a young son. You needed help." Brandon stared at his mother. His face was slowly changing. I spread several papers across the table. These were bank statements from the last 7 years. Each payment was highlighted. "Every month," I said, "I paid the mortgage. Month after month. Year after year. For 7 years. I pointed to the numbers. This is more than $350,000 in mortgage payments alone. Then I pointed to more papers. Now add the taxes. The insurance. The pool service. The gardening service. Rebecca's face turned pale. I looked directly at her. The total is about $469,000. The room became very quiet. Brandon looked back and forth between us. Finally he asked, "Mom, is that true?" Rebecca swallowed hard. "It was only temporary help," she said. "It was like a family loan." I shook my head. "A loan?" I pulled out another document. "I don't see any paperwork saying it was a loan. There is no promise to pay me back. There is no payment plan. There is no agreement. There is nothing. Only 7 years of records showing me paying your bills." Rebecca looked down. "You said you wanted to help." "I did want to help," I answered. "I wanted to help when your life fell apart. I wanted to help when Brandon was young. I wanted to help because you are my sister." I paused. "But I also watched you buy a new Mercedes. I watched Brandon get a BMW for his birthday. I watched you remodel your kitchen. I watched you spend money while I paid the bills." Brandon looked embarrassed. His cheeks turned red. He suddenly understood something he had never known before. I continued speaking. "I never told people I was helping you. I never tried to embarrass you. I never told your neighbors. I never told Brandon. I'll let you keep your dignity. I let everyone believe you had done it all by yourself." Rebecca's eyes filled with tears. "Then why now?" she asked. "Why stop helping?" Without saying a word, I picked up my phone. Then I showed Brandon's post. Rebecca looked at the screen. Brandon looked too. His face turned completely red. Now he understood. I pointed at the post. "Because my children saw this. Because Olivia cried. Because Ethan was hurt. Because you allowed Brandon to believe he was better than them." Brandon looked down. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I really am. I didn't know. I thought." He stopped speaking. "You thought you were rich and we were poor?" I asked gently. He nodded. "You thought your big house made you better than my children?" Brandon looked ashamed. "I'll delete the post. I'll apologize to Olivia and Ethan." "You should," I said. "And I believe you will." Then I folded my hands and looked at both of them. But understand something. I did not stop the payments because of one social media post. I stopped them because this arrangement has lasted 7 years. 7 years is a very long time. I helped when help was needed. I protected your home. I protected your family. I gave you time to rebuild your life. Then I looked directly at Rebecca. My help was a gift. It was never meant to last forever. And now it is time for you to stand on your own feet. Rebecca's hands were shaking as she sat across from me. "Please," she said in a weak voice. "I can't pay for the house all by myself. My salary is only enough for our other bills. If you stop helping with the mortgage, I'll lose the house." I stayed calm and looked at her. "Then you'll have to find another solution," I said. "You can sell the house. You can move to a smaller one. You can get another job. Many single mothers have to make hard choices when money is tight." Rebecca stared at me in shock. "You can't do this to us," she said. "We're family." I nodded slowly. "Family?" I repeated. "Yes, Rebecca, we are family. That's exactly why this hurts so much." She looked confused. "It hurts to see my nephew making fun of my children online. It hurts to see him call them poor while living in a house that I have been helping pay for. It hurts to watch him act like he's better than them when so much of what he has came from my help." The room became very quiet. Then I pulled out another document and placed it on the table. "This is the deed to your house," I said. Rebecca looked down at the paper. "When the bank changed your loan years ago, part of the agreement was that my name would be added as a co-owner because I was making such a large contribution to the payments." Her eyes widened. "What are you talking about?" she whispered. "I own half of the house," I said calmly. "The bank required it to protect their investment." Rebecca's face suddenly turned pale. "What?" she gasped. "You signed the papers 7 years ago," I replied. "You probably didn't read every page because you were worried about saving the house." I pushed the document closer to her. "This means I don't just help pay the mortgage. I legally own half of the property." Brandon looked like he might be sick. He stared at me with wide eyes. For years, both of them had acted as if the house belonged only to Rebecca. Now they were learning the truth. I folded my hands and spoke calmly. "So here's what's going to happen." Brandon sat up straight. "First, you're going to delete that post right now." He immediately reached for his phone. "Then you're going to make a public apology. You're going to tell everyone that what you said was wrong and cruel." Brandon nodded quickly. "And after that, you're going to send personal apologies to Olivia and Ethan." Again he nodded. He looked ashamed. Then I turned back to Rebecca. "We also need to talk about the future." Rebecca looked nervous. "You have 3 choices. First, you can start making the full mortgage payments yourself. Second, we can sell the house and split the money according to our ownership shares. Third, you can buy half of the house from me." Rebecca looked like she couldn't believe what she was hearing. I can't afford any of those things, she whispered. I took a deep breath. Then you'll have to figure something out. Her eyes filled with tears. Melissa, please, she begged. Give me more time. I shook my head. You've already had 7 years. The words hung in the air. 7 years, I repeated. How much more time do you need? Brandon was typing quickly on his phone. A moment later, the mean post disappeared from social media. Then he began writing a new one. When he finished, he showed it to me. The post said, I want to apologize for something terrible I posted earlier. I was wrong and disrespectful. I am ashamed of my behavior. I am very sorry to my aunt and my cousins. I judged people without knowing the truth. What I said was hurtful and unfair. I am truly sorry. There, Brandon said quietly. It's done. Good, I replied. Then I pointed to his phone. Now send sincere messages to Olivia and Ethan. He immediately started typing again. I looked back at Rebecca. You have until the end of the month to make a decision. Either you start paying for the house yourself, or we put it on the market and sell it. Rebecca swallowed hard. And if I can't do either one, she asked. Then the bank may eventually take the house, I answered honestly. And neither of us will get much from it. I paused. But at least I won't be spending $4,000 every month just to watch my children be mocked. Rebecca slowly stood up from her chair. Her legs seemed weak. She looked at me with disappointment. I never knew you could be so cold. I looked directly at her. I'm not cold. My voice remained calm. I'm a mother protecting her children. She said nothing. Maybe you would understand that, I continued. If you had spent more time teaching your son kindness instead of letting him believe he was better than everyone else. Brandon lowered his head. Tears were running down his cheeks now. He kept typing, sending apology messages. I felt a little sorry for him. He was only 17. He had made a terrible mistake. But he was also a product of what he had been taught. Brandon, I said gently. He looked up. You're not a bad person. His eyes filled with tears again. But you've been living in a fantasy. He listened quietly. You thought your mother's house made you special. I shook my head. It didn't. You were lucky. That's all. I pointed toward Rebecca. You had an aunt who was willing to help your family when things were difficult. I paused. Remember that lesson. Learn from it. Brandon nodded slowly. I will, he whispered. Rebecca moved toward the door. Before leaving, she turned around one last time. You're going to regret this, Melissa. I didn't answer. Family doesn't do this to family. I looked at her carefully. You're right. For a second, she looked hopeful. Then I continued. Family doesn't do this to family. I stood up. They also don't let their children bully their cousins. Rebecca looked away. They don't pretend to own things they can't afford. Her face tightened. They don't accept years of help and then act like that help never mattered. Rebecca spoke softly. I thanked you. I nodded. Yes. Once. The room fell silent. 7 years ago. I looked at her sadly. After that, you acted like you did everything yourself. Like my sacrifices didn't matter. Like I didn't exist. Rebecca had no answer. Without another word, she left. Brandon followed behind her. As they walked out the door, he was still staring at his phone, finishing his apology messages. When they were gone, the house became quiet. I sat alone at the dining room table. The documents were still spread out in front of me. For years, those papers had represented a burden, a responsibility, a secret. Now they felt different. My breathing was steady. My hands were calm. And for the first time in a very long time, I felt free. A few minutes later, Olivia appeared in the doorway. Mom, she asked softly. I looked up. Come here, sweetheart. She walked over and sat beside me. Ethan followed and sat down too. Both of them looked worried. Brandon texted us, Olivia said. He apologized. I nodded. He should. Olivia looked thoughtful. He sounded sincere. I hope he was, I said. Then Ethan asked a question. Mom, is it true that you've been paying for Aunt Rebecca's house? I had always hoped my children would never need to know. But now it was time. Yes, I answered honestly. Their eyes widened. For how long? Olivia asked. 7 years. They were silent. Why? Ethan asked. I smiled gently. Because 7 years ago, your aunt needed help. And you helped her? Olivia asked. Yes. I nodded. I was able to help, so I did. I thought for a moment. I don't regret helping her. That was true. Helping someone in need was never something to regret. But I do regret that she forgot how much help she received. The children listened carefully. And I regret that Brandon wasn't taught humility and gratitude. Ethan looked down at the floor. Then he asked the question that broke my heart. Mom, are we poor? I immediately reached over and held his hand. No, sweetheart. I looked around our home. It wasn't huge. It wasn't fancy. But it was warm. Safe. Clean. Filled with love. My children had everything they truly needed. They had food. They had clothes. They had good schools. They had parents who loved them. And soon, we would have an extra $4,000 every month that had been going toward Rebecca's house. Money that could go into their future. Money for college. Money for vacations. Money for opportunities. I smiled. We are not poor. Then what are we? Olivia asked. We are careful. The children listened. We spend wisely. We save when we can. We don't buy things just to impress other people. Then I pointed to my heart. And most importantly, we are kind. I wrapped an arm around both of them. We don't judge people by their houses. We don't judge people by their cars. We don't decide someone's value based on money. Both children smiled. That makes us richer than any mansion. Olivia leaned forward and hugged me. I'm glad you're my mom. My eyes filled with happy tears. I'm glad you're my daughter. Then Ethan squeezed into my lap, even though he was getting too big for that. I'm glad you're my mom too. I laughed softly. For a long moment, the three of us simply sat together. The problems weren't completely over. There would still be difficult conversations. There might be lawyers. There might be arguments. There would definitely be challenges ahead. But tonight was different. Tonight, my children understood something important. Their worth did not come from a giant house. It did not come from expensive cars. It did not come from showing off. Their worth came from who they were. Kind, honest, respectful, loving. As I held them close in our simple home, I felt peaceful. For years, I had carried the weight of someone else's choices. Now that weight was finally gone. And somewhere across town, in a large 5-bedroom house that she could never truly afford on her own, my sister was finally learning a lesson she should have learned a long time ago. Everything has a cost, and kindness should never be taken for granted.
अंधेरी दीवारों में खुद को ढूंढता हूँ मैं, गए जो दिन सहाने थे उन्हीं को सोचता हूँ मैं। तुम्हारे बिन ये मौसम भी बड़ा बेसर्द लगता है। दिल का हर एक कोना अब बहुत ही दूर बढ़ता है। अंधेरी दीवारों में खुद को ढूंढता हूँ मैं, गए जो दिन सुहाने थे उन्हीं को सोचता हूँ मैं। तुम्हारे बिन ये मौसम भी बड़ा सर्द लगता है। दिल का हर एक कोना बहुत ही दर्द भरता है। मेरे साए भी मुझसे अब जुदा होने को कहते हैं। तुझे खोने की राहों में ये आंसू बहने लगते हैं। कहाँ जाऊं कहाँ ढूंढूं मेरा वो साजो सामा तो मेरी हर एक तमन्ना तू, मेरी रूह का मका तू। लकीरों में नहीं लिखा जो तुमने ख्वाब देखा था। वफा की इस कहानी में फकत एक गम ही लिखा था। सितारों से भी पूछता है पता तेरा कहाँ होगा, मगर खामोश है दुनिया कहाँ मेरा जहाँ होगा। बस एक बार मुड़ के देख ले मेरी बेबसी की सूरत। मुझे है आज भी तेरी वफा की सख्त जरूरत। साए मेरे तन्हा सफर बस रह गया दर्द का असर। साए मेरे तन्हा सफर बस रह गया दर्द का असर, दर्द का असर।